Yo, you guys want the truth, right? Well, here's the truth about debt. Because I have very strict rules about how I feel about debt, but they're not as front-facing as you'd believe. Because ultimately, when you hear people saying things, you have to remember what vision, brand they're trying to uphold. It's like that video of Dave Ramsey being asked if he'd take a 0% loan for $1 billion, yada, 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 and he said no. He's saying no to uphold the brand that he has of zero debt, when in reality that would be foolish not to take. Regardless, though, I want to talk about this because in my journey, especially on my journey to my first property, becoming debt-free, getting rid of bad debt, especially when I didn't know what business was, how to use money, what investing was, what debt was. Bad debt is clearly going to be a chain on your journey toward building a business, toward buying a property. So if you're at a point where you don't know what you want to do yet, you don't have a business, you don't have property, but you have car loan or student loan or credit card debt, well, sincerely, that's the only thing that you need to worry about paying off and getting rid of as far as your financial journey. Not building a business, not making more money. You need to pay all that off as soon as possible. And that's exactly what I did. That's exactly why I was able to buy a property, because my debt to income ratio was so good. I wasn't even making that much money when I bought my property, but I had zero debt and I had a lot of cash and I had amazing credit. Paying off debt also helps build credit. I had an 800 credit score before buying a property because I paid off my debt. There's a caveat though. When I bought my property, I got a mortgage. The difference is, from a traditional mortgage, is this mortgage pays for itself because this debt is an investment. This is not something Dave Ramsey would approve of. But frankly, I don't care. Regardless, yeah, there's a purpose with this debt. This is something called good debt, where the asset that's owned by this debt is worth more than the debt, and the debt doesn't cost me money. And then I want to be 100% real with you, especially if you're somebody who inherently believes that you lack something and you need these external things to create the dynamic in your life. Because after my real estate journey, I moved to building an online business, an online education business. And through that journey, I depleted all the resources that I had, all the cash on hand that I had. And I even had to go into credit card debt. But I'm going to tell you something very serious here. Before I did that, I had an 800 credit score. So I know the power of debt and how it can be used and abused. And specifically, I had every dynamic in my favor, every aspect of my dynamic in my favor to create an online business. So I had control over my time. I didn't need to work a job because I was living for free because of my investment. And it was a very specific circumstance. And this comes into fruition or brings light to a very specific point on an entrepreneur's journey towards success. Taking an insane amount of risk, not knowing if something will work. Sure, you can separate my real estate journey from my online business journey, but I'm going to tell you the mistakes and why I needed to go into credit card debt when I started my online business about 1.5 years ago. Because I didn't realize that everything is internal, and I didn't realize that I need to have conviction in what I'm selling. And that was my problem, always searching for the next moment. I thought if I built systems and I just kept giving to people, that they would just naturally come. And although that's the case, you need to have conviction in what you're selling. And that was my biggest lesson on my nitty-gritty sales journey whilst building out my online business. And that's why I needed to go into debt, because ultimately I used up my capital. I was not quitting. But the beautiful thing about that credit card debt is it lit a fire under my ass to really take action. Because especially with the difference between an investment is more so this works for itself in that aspect. And in the beginning of an online business, and especially when you're building trust online, when the digital landscape breeds lack of trust, it makes it a lot more difficult to gain that trust. And ultimately what I'm sharing is, yes, I am an advocate for zero debt, zero bad debt. And I'm an advocate for the fact of don't judge yourself if you need to use it. And I'm an advocate for, I used it to buy a property. I used it to leverage it to build my online business. Do I recommend continuously doing that? I recommend if you're doing it specifically to build an online business, it's to the fact of when you're making money, you pay that off as soon as possible. Because it can be bad if you don't. And then certainly with a mortgage, I guess it's a little different because I'm just paying what I need to pay monthly and it's just getting covered from the rent that I'm getting. So it's a double-edged sword, and I'm being honest with you. That's what it really takes to build a business sometimes, because sometimes it's not as easy peasy as just everything is debt-free, this and that. And because sometimes you'll miss opportunities if you don't do it like that. And that's at least what I found on my journey. Because sure, I could have waited another 5 years and not bought the property. Then I wouldn't have control over my dynamic. I would have had to still been living with my grandmother till I'm freaking 35. Who knows? So it's like, don't be so. I'm telling you this to be transparent with you and to tell you the real journey of what it actually takes to buy property, what it actually takes to build a business. And sure, maybe there's extreme cases. And sure, maybe I needed to learn these lessons. And sure, maybe you don't need to do that. But I'm sharing my journey. And ultimately, just remember that a lot of people are saying things to uphold a brand that they have. And not that that's actually the case. And not that it can't be utilized in a good way. But know that debt can ruin your life. That's a fact. And certainly, if you're not building something of an asset or buying something of an asset, a good appreciating asset, then in no way should you be using debt. That's a bottom line. Appreciating asset. And then certainly, if you get to a point in which you're making a lot of cash flow, and you know what the deal is, then you kind of have conviction in your decision-making abilities. But right now, to the person I'm usually talking to and that I usually talk to, pay off the student loans. The tenacity you're going to get from doing that is going to translate into the willpower it takes to build a business. Pay off the student loans. Get rid of the fucking nice car. Pay off the car debt. Pay off the credit card debt. Then you talk about, with some cash, building a business or buying an investment. Then, in my specific case, I'm sharing my case. I used all my cash, bought a property, made the property very successful, and built a lot of equity in the property. Still had a job at that time, built up cash reserves again, and then went all in on an online business. And in my case, I did have to use debt again to leverage it to sustain the building of this appreciating asset. Do I recommend that if you do not need to? No. But a lot of the times, you need to, because it's the line you need to take the action that you need. Certainly, if I can save you from doing that, remember that it's not just going to come to you without the intention and without conviction in what you're selling and who you are. An active marketing of what this thing is. Because ultimately, you can build it. That doesn't mean people are going to come. You need to know how to get people to come. That sounded very weird. You need to know how to get people to move toward you. I apologize for that. I have a dirty mind. Regardless, fam, that's the reality of it. Much love. Let's get it. Continuing to seek truth, continuing to be transparent with you on my journey, continuing to share my lessons about building business and creating the life of my desires. And yeah, if I can save you time and money, that's my goal. All right, fam, peace.